So hello everyone, in this video I want to show you how you can animate some textures. I'm not going to show how to do this stuff, but again these are all the stuff that you could do with animating textures, right? If I move this, you could see this is how it looks. Even creating this foam like area, these are all done by animating texture. And if you want to know how I created this, stylized grass or this stylized look landscape, I have video on it, and in future I will also be creating a video on how to create these trees and how to create this waterfall, which I'm still working on to make it look better, also like the stylized script. So just subscribe so that you know when it is done. So I just added these 3 primitive shapes in here where we can add our texture. So let's do that. And also if you want to learn how to do this projectile, there's a video on my channel which you could check. So let's quickly learn to do this. Okay, so I'm going to use this texture that I already created. It's empty completely, see, nothing's there. I basically did create material instance, and I'm just going to apply this material instance in here so that we can change the parameter easily. So first of all, you need to add a texture sample or anything that you want. There are multiple ways to use a texture, but texture sample is common one, which basically takes a texture and samples it for you. But this is the common one, so we are using texture sample. I'm going to add the RGB, and in here we will choose the texture that we want. I'm going to use a cloud texture that I created. It is actually available on my website if you want to get this packed cloud texture. It's very basic, it's very easy to make in Photoshop, takes like 10 seconds to make. But if you want to, you could go into my website and search for textures and all. I'm going to connect the R channel. If you don't know what this is, it's a packed texture. If I let's say go into this texture, this is called a packed texture. Basically it allows you to, if I just show you R channel, it's this black and white texture. In G channel there is second texture, in B channel there's different texture. It allows you to have different texture in one single one, so that it's I guess it's less resource usage. But I'm using the channel which is I'm using the texture which is stored in the R channel. Now there is something called panner node which does our job, but I want to also show you how this actually works, because if you know how this works you could do more stuff with it. But this is an easy way, so I'll just first do this and then I'll show you what I mean and how this works so that you could have more control. So when you add this panner to the UV and let's say add a speed like this of 1 in the X side, it is now going to move in the X direction in the UV channels. Now again, if it looks a bit off, it's probably because I don't know, if I do 90, it's probably just the direction that I've made this face like this. Let's do okay, so now they are facing same direction based on the UV, and this is basically to float, right? So if you promote this to parameter, it's not going to turn into different values. It's going to take one value. So if I add 2 in here and then do apply, it's going to move on the top bottom to up like this. Because if you go to this page which I've not published yet, it will be probably made online in future, but basically this is the UV coordinates like this, and we are basically adding let's say values 1, 2, 3 as the time goes on into this one, which is basically making it go this way, bottom to top up like this. So let me first do this so that you understand what's happening. So here we have coordinates, which is basically using the UV coordinates which is available in here in the 0th index. Time basically is nothing, it just count down from 0 to, it starts with 0 and then basically uses a counter, stopwatch kind of stuff, where it just basically goes up, the time goes up, and as the time goes up it is basically adding some values to this texture samples UV with this X speed. Now just if you want to have some 2 different values in here and you want to, let's say, control it with a parameter, what you need to do is you need to add a constant 1. You could search for constant 1 like this, or press 1 and do left click, 2, 3 like this. It gives us this constants. You cannot add, you can also add it like this, but the problem is you cannot convert this into parameter because it does not work. So what we are going to do is we are going to convert this into parameter. We can call it x speed, duplicate this and call it y speed, and then basically we can use a node called append, not this one. We can use like this one, append, or what I like to use is make float 2. So you could see there are like multiple, make float 2, 3, 4. This one takes 2 values, right, because x and y, and this one also takes 2 values. So it's your choice which one you want to use. All you simply need to do is you need to get a result which has 2 values. You could add it in here for speed, or you could also use it for in here, but create like a separate one for the UV styling, and then this one. And if I, let's say, add one like this would basically give us parameter to work with in our material stuff instead of having 2 values. Now it goes from left to right, and obviously if I add 1 in here and then did 0, it will go bottom and up. But how does this all work? Like, how does this even work? That's the thing, right? I'll explain this. Let me first show you one more thing. There's a node called time. This is the same thing that is happening in here. It is basically, you could think of it as a stopwatch. When you press, it goes 0 to 1, which constantly outputs a value which is like increasing order, like 0 second, 1 second, 2 second, and all the in between seconds, like milliseconds. That's the value. You could obviously add it in here, and if you, let's say, multiply this with 2, it's basically going to increase the speed by 2. So as it goes, let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, it will go like 0, 2, 4, 6, and obviously all the in between milliseconds. Like this, you could see it's now much more faster. And this is just coordinate. So let me just remove this and show you what's actually happening. So I'm just going to keep this above here, and I'll show you what's happening so that you could have more control on it. Okay, so what you could do in here is, now we have UV. Basically what we are doing when we are using speed around here, we are basically doing an offset for UV. So if you think of the texture like this, so the texture is placed in our UV coordinates. Currently we are using it on here, right, which is a plane, and in a plane the UV coordinates are going to be like this: 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, and then 0, 1, because it's basically XY coordinates, right? Very basic stuff, you know, very basic stuff. If this was in graph, then this one would be 0, 0, this one would be 1, 0, because we are going in X coordinates, but in here we are also going in Y coordinates, so it's like 1, and then in 1 here 0, 1. For example, in here, even if the text here, you could see that the texture is like this, and right now our textures are repeating like this. So this is one texture, then this is the same texture which is repeated. There is no gap like this. Okay, this is repeating. So if I add 0.5 on the X direction, okay, it will make the coordinates be like this. Okay, my pen tablet is in like a weird angle, which is why it's looking weird when I'm drawing. Our texture would move like this. So when we add 0.5, we are basically making the texture coordinates move like this. So our texture would start from here and it will end from here. So if we constantly move these values by adding some values, it will basically keep moving, right? It will keep moving in smaller increments that it looks like it is moving. So what we are basically doing is, if we take the UV coordinates by adding the texture coordinate node, you could search for texture coordinate, or you could press U and do left click. I could say that, hey, I want to add some value to the UV coordinates, and let's promote this to a value. If you're adding 0, nothing's going to happen, because anything added by 0 is the same thing. If I go to the parameter and if I start moving, you could say we are now moving like this. So every time we do some changes, it is actually moving like this, right? So slowly. But if you only move it on the left side, it is actually moving like this, slowly, like this. So it looks like it is panning. So what we can do is, we can say that, hey, the texture coordinates, we know that it actually has 2 values, right? Because it's U and V. If you don't know why we use UV instead of XY, because it's just to not get confused with the XY coordinates in the 3D space, and knowing that we are working in 2D space of a texture when we say UV, but it's basically XY coordinates, okay, if you are getting confused. So if I say break, break out float to components. So we are saying that, hey, take this UV coordinates and give me each value separately, add it like this and do apply. You could see that nothing's happening. It's kind of making it look weird. You could say it's looking weird, and that is simply because we are breaking it, and then we are basically saying that whatever value we are getting in here, add it, use that for both u and v. That's not what we want. We want both of these values to be separate. So we actually need to create it again. So let's to make float to, let's move this in front, let's connect this to the x, and let's connect this directly. Let's move it like this. So we are taking the texture coordinate, we are saying give me both of these values separately, only add it to the x and take this g or y value or v value, which is all same, and just use it same. Okay, and again you could even see in here that this is rg, this is a b, this is xy, and this is uv. It doesn't matter what it says, it just matters how you are using the float values. Okay, so now if I go in here and then move it, we can move it left and right like this. Why? We are basically just taking the x coordinates and moving it, and basically we are doing is we are adding values in this x coordinates only, which is moving whole uv coordinates on the right side or left side. Similarly, if we add now on this one and promote this to a parameter, we should now be able to control this one too separately like this. Now instead of doing this, I'm going to disconnect this stuff. Let me connect it like this. Okay, what if I use a time node? And we know that time basically gives us a value from like it starts with 0 and basically counts it up continuously. If I give this and apply it around here, it is moving in the left direction. So we are constantly adding these values slowly as the time progresses in the u channel. Similarly, if we add it around here, we are now moving on the top to left side like this. I'm disconnecting it so that we only move it on the left side. If I add a multiply node in here, I could say that do it by 5 speed. So you could even promote this to a parameter and say like x speed, y speed. Okay, so you can see that all of the stuff that is around here we are doing. So we are taking the texture coordinate, we had the time, I actually deleted it. We are using this time to add it in this one like this, and then if I multiply this with, let's say, a value like this, so you could see that this panel node is doing all of this stuff. It's basically taking a texture coordinate which is around here, it is taking the x and y, which is x and y like this, and it is basically doing it is taking the time and it's basically moving it in that direction, whatever you specify, which is around here, which is multiply, and by default it is using 1 like this, because again no difference. But if I turn this to 2 and all, we cannot do that option around here. You could see I cannot go and then add 2 directly. So you need to add the time node and then multiply it like this and then connect it in here, which is an easier way. But again, just knowing how this all works can give you like much more benefits in case you want to add some, you know, some dilation in here with a texture, or add some texture coordinate related stuff. So if you want to add like a, let me see if I can do this. Okay, I'll do nothing to the B channel. I'll copy this texture sample. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, I can use this to distort my UV channel and then use this in here to move this. Let's do apply and see how this goes. Text coordinate, time, multiply, add, this is also okay. I'll make this, let's say 0.5. Let's see. And let's say if I go in here and choose like a better texture instead of black and white, let's say you could create some weird stuff like this if you use this one to actually manipulate the UVs of this one. This also allows you to create some water ripple type textures that you want. by using a texture to actually control the UV coordinates of another. You could even do stuff like, let's say if I connect it like this, and multiply these values with the R channel of this one to get some like weird patterns. So we can create like lots of weird stuff with all of this stuff. Okay, I don't even know what I was planning, but looks cool, right? So basically it is using this time and then multiplying it with whatever it is. So wherever there's 0, it will multiply with 0 and no effect would be there. So yeah, that's how you can use this banner node to move the textures and kind of create some weird patterns and all. So yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.